If anybody can bring me coffee. If you get coffee.
Yeah. Attention, internet. We need coffee.
We need coffee.
Hey.
So, how's it going?
What's going on?
I don't even know if we've ever done this, except in brief spurts.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've ever done full matches together. So
no, I don't think we have.
So what do you think about this matchup?
I really like the way the Punishing Maverick deck looks. No, I mean, I like the way it looks. I mean, Punishing Fire just seems like a terrific card. And, like, the reason his other matchup looked as close as it did was just he kept getting his red sources wastelanded. I don't think that's going to happen here. No.
We're sure of that.
Yeah.
As the player
I mean,
registering
a resolved Jide seems like a nightmare here.
distributing the product.
You are just unabashedly rooting for Blue Red Delver, aren't you?
It's just, well, I mean, in my experience, the Jidi's just hard to... So this is where my inexperience with the Treasure Cruise deck comes in. I don't know... You know, it used to be the old Delver decks. There were a lot of games where your opponent just did nothing. So it didn't matter that whether they were requiring... It almost didn't matter very much. I sometimes compare them to the Workshop decks in Vintage, where I don't care what the text is on your cards, because no matter what you do, I'm going to stop it anyway. And that's how the old Delver decks played. Obviously, these decks don't do that.
Right, they've cut down on their permission a little bit.
Right, they don't have stifles. This deck doesn't have stifle. It doesn't have... So, yeah, it's possible that in this matchup, the Jidi is a real problem, especially if it's... Kevin Jones will be on the play, though, right?
Kevin Jones will be on the play. He's the top seed. Has not lost yet this weekend. Is that correct?
So at least he doesn't have to face the turn 1 mana creature.
Turn two, able to fight the days to land a Stoneforge Mystic.
Right, something like that. So that's good for him. Yeah, I guess the Jidi's problematic because if it hits you once, that's enough to
Here's my analysis of this matchup.
Right.
Ready? Scrib Ranger is favored in all matchups, ever.
Scrib Ranger is pretty sweet. He only has 2 Fork Bolts on Kevin's side. I think this matchup, it's hard to not think the Maverick deck is favored here.
Yeah. But are they ready to go down on the floor? So we're going to bring it down to you any second now. Hey everybody, welcome to the semifinals of the Legacy Championships here at Eternal Weekend. I'm Brian David Marshall, and it is my distinct pleasure to be joined by Chris Pikula, the meddling mage himself.
It's true, and there are some meddling mages along with me in the top 4, so that's exciting. But not in this match, though.
Who's playing meddling mage now?
The other 2 decks both have meddling. The other 2 decks are sort of the Delver Blade decks, and both have meddling mages in the sideboard. So, unfortunately, it's hard to imagine they're going to make an appearance in the mirror. Although I have seen it done, where they just bring in all their dudes. So,
meddling mage naming meddling mage. Let's go.
I don't know if I've actually seen that. I'm sure it's happened, but
we're gonna check some email here. Okay, there we go. So, what do you like? I mean, obviously, Kevin Jones is now the last blue-red Delver deck standing.
Right.
And this deck looks like it's causing you a little bit of
Players, at this time, I would like to open your deck box.
It's like a little bit of a sea chain tree. You're used to blue-red Delver looking a little different.
Right. I'm just not. I mean, obviously, I know the deck's powerful. I know it's close enough to an old style of Delver deck where I basically understand how it works, but I don't quite know. You know, I just haven't played it. I've played a few games with it only.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I feel like his strategy in this matchup, given that he's on the play, is he's basically going to try to get in enough damage where he can kind of burn out.
Yeah.
Before cards like Mother of Runes and Stoneforge Mystic matter.
Just play Zoo style.
Right.
Do 10-2 with my creatures, and then you play a fetch land or shock land or something, and I can do the last 9 with both.
Because the Maverick deck has so many cards that are hard to deal with if the game keeps going for a while. I mean, the Stoneforge Mystics, the Punishing Fires, Knight of the Reliquary is just total nightmare. Like that, you just can't kill something that big.
Right.
So, So yeah, this game one is
forgetting
really
Scrib Ranger.
Scrib Ranger. Obviously, Forked Bolt being a sorcery actually matters quite a bit in this matchup.
All right, we're underway here.
So it's like 2 mana, Punishing Fire, Stoneforge, Green Sun Zenith, Knight of the Reliquary.
So Gataxi Kevin Jones leads off with a Gataxian Probe.
Alright, so he sees a hand that is probably going to be get a Dryad Arbor on turn 1.
And he's going to do that with Green Sun Zenith
Right.
for 0, which is, sweet.
That is sweet.
Although we've seen Green Sun Zenith just go down to bullets ricocheting off of a 1 toughness creature with Fork Bolt all weekend.
And this is the best possible first turn for Kevin, really.
Yeah,
playing a
Secrets.
Delver when his opponent does not have a Swords of Plowshares. But
That's getting dazed.
oh wow.
Yeah.
So this is important because I'm sorry, what were the 2 lands he had? He had a fetch land, and what's the second land? Does he actually have a red mana? Oh yeah, he fetched Taiga.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the other land was Caracas.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and is that the Pyroblast? Not a great
Pyroblast, not a great
main deck card in
game
this
one
matchup.
draw,
Yeah.
So
Kevin Jones found the one matchup he could mulligan that, draw a mulligan card against.
So now he's probably gonna have to Punishing Fire this. So
Although I guess he could still just use it to make his Monastery Swift Spears bigger and make a token. He could just aim it at a land.
right, if he has Pyroblast, is much better than Red Elemental Blast in this matchup for sure.
So cast Punishing Fire. Do you want to daze yourself again?
I probably would. I mean, yeah, we're kind of in everything's a Lightning Bolt mode. My Delvers are Lightning Bolts. My Lightning Bolts are Lightning Bolts.
My land's a Lightning Bolt. All right, Scalding Tarn for Kevin Jones.
Yeah, it already feels like the Delver deck can't win this game to me.
There's Stoneforge Mystic. It's a 2-for-1 one way or the other. Either I get something or you force of will it. I mean, Noble Hierarch.
Mother Runes, Noble Hierarch, those are in a Lone Bird of Paradise are the 1-casters in the
Sure.
deck. Or another Green Sun Zenith.
It's not. We've narrowed it down. It's not going to be Mother.
And I don't think he would Green Sun Zenith for 0 here again if he drew it, so.
Yeah, Noble Hierarch.
Yeah, honestly, I don't really see how. I know it's early, it's crazy, but this Delver deck is hard to come back. It's easy to come back when your opponents. A lot of legacy decks don't have the kind of threats that this Maverick deck has. This Maverick deck slams a Knight of the Reliquary here.
Right.
It's just not a card that you're used to playing against in Legacy. It's not what the Delver deck's equipped to beat.
Right. So Fork Bolt takes down the Noble Hierarch.
And does 1.
Yeah,
So the burn plan is still happening, but
there's your Knight of the Reliquary. Oh, by the way, I'm going to wasteland you.
so that thing's, what is that thing? Is 5/5? A 6/6?
Yeah.
Now Kevin does have 2 basic island and 1 basic mountain in his deck, so he doesn't have to. The traditional 3-color Delver deck would have to worry about getting wastelanded out here. He doesn't have to worry about that.
By the way, talking about more cards that are just a pain for the blue-red Delver deck. I got a Voice of
But
Resurgence.
this is another card you're just not used to playing against. It's just not what you have in mind when you construct your deck.
Yeah, and Kevin's life total starts rapidly ticking down.
Yeah, this is a 2-turn clock, and there's no way for the Delver deck to win quickly.
There's another night. No,
Oh.
Domri Raid.
Domri.
Domri Raid, legacy playable.
So,
Ticks it up, looks at the top card, not a creature. Get in, take you to 5. Take you to 4. 5. Yeah, take you to 5. All right. You start bringing himself down now. He's got to just crack those fetch lands.
Players, I need Matthew Bartlett to the vintage scorekeeper.
yeah, and
please.
the
Matthew
Delver decks are
Bartlett
just
to the main stage on the vintage scorekeeper.
a lot. They're used to little creatures fighting things on the stack. Big green guys is just not what you signed up for. I mean, everyone knows about Tarmogoyf, but this is already bigger than Tarmogoyf normally is.
Right. And honestly, Tarmogoyf has kind of been a little bit of a non-factor this weekend.
Oh yeah, I believe it.
Treasure Cruise makes it a lot worse.
Yeah.
You know, your opponent's like looking to hijack your graveyard for Tarmogoyf boosts, and then they're like, no, I've got a sorcery.
Right. And that's just another reason why these Delver decks are even less equipped to deal with the Goyfs, so they didn't expect them for the reasons you're saying. So. Right, against a normal Maverick deck, the turn 1 Delver play, your opponent would have 4 Swords of Plowshares. So it's like a lot of their draws, that Delver might hit them 4 times or something. But against a deck that has an additional 3 Punishing Fires, now it just becomes really unlikely that your first Delver goes all the way. I mean, you'll see it often in Legacy, like against Elves and against Maverick. Like the turn 1 Delver literally goes all the way. Like they just don't draw one of their few ways to deal with it.
Just runs into a Scrib Ranger.
Well, I could also, right, in this matchup, there's 3 Punishing Fires in addition to the Swords, which, it's like that's a huge change in the percentage of opening hands that they can kill a Delver. And yes, sometimes the Scrib Ranger does get in there to block, although there's a lot of burn spells to take care of the Scrib Ranger.
That is a blatant lie.
And the other thing about this Maverick deck, which I know happened in Game 1, when Nate, during his interview, talked about it, it is a lot more susceptible to Wasteland than many of these green-white creature decks would be, because it's splashed in the 3rd color, and because it has double white, it has double white casting cost, it has Scavenging Ooze, so it has pretty heavy mana requirements. But of course, the blue-red Delver deck doesn't have Wasteland, like you said earlier, so he doesn't have that, doesn't have Wasteland, doesn't have Stifle, so he doesn't have the I'm just going to make sure they never cast anything route. So
what is Kevin Jones playing to here?
I mean, he's playing to chump block and burn him out, right? I don't think that.
Reminder,
he has to Treasure Cruise, get a bunch of burn in his hand, and then never get hit by Knight of the Reliquary again.
Your pool by color.
I mean, if he gets Young Pyromancer in play and
alphabetically, please make sure that you sort your pool by color.
So right now, I guess he's fixing sleeves, but as far as his outs in this game go, it's just Treasure Cruise a bunch, get some chump blockers, and he only has 4 Lightning Bolt, 2 Forked Bolt. He doesn't have Chain Lightnings. It's pretty thin.
Right. Really just rooting for a GRV here.
Yeah, I don't. It's tough. Although he doesn't, he seems to be proceeding as though
there's a plan.
As though there's a plan, yes. So there's the Treasure Cruise, right? He has to refill. Swift Spears have haste. They might be able to sneak in some damage. It is hard to chump block with a Dome Marine play because he can just fight. I mean, it's rough.
So I think we're gonna see either either a Glimmer or Scoop. Yeah.
He doesn't have a Fire Blast list like we saw a couple of those running around yesterday.
Yeah.
So he can't really do the extreme burn plan. There. That was a really extended period of time to then finally scoop. But so I guess we can look at the sideboard.
It seemed like the best line there.
Yeah. That was one of those games where there was a ton to say. Like once the Delver died, the construction of the Delver deck, just kind of you knew that it was going to be hard to win.
So Nate's able to bring in more Path to Exiles.
Right, which is not as good in this matchup as it was in his previous, because this deck does have basic lands to get.
How does Choke look to you?
Choke, well, I mean, on one hand, the Delver deck can operate on very little land. It can bounce islands back to its hand with days. So I guess I'm not sure. I feel like
Choke's not a card here.
no. I mean, the games are probably going to go long though. Choke may be a card. I don't have a lot of experience playing with Choke or against Choke in Legacy.
Right.
You know, it's mostly there for like the Stoneblade decks that have a lot of islands that the games are expected to go very long.
Which is a deck we're going to see in the finals.
Right.
Right. You know, the 2 Stoneblade decks or Delver Blades or whatever we're calling them.
Any deck with Stoneforge Mystic, they kind of imply that they think the game is going to go longer. So that the chokes mean more. And
this Red Elemental Blast.
Red Elemental Blast is coming in. It's another way to kill Delver.
Sword of Fire and Ice.
Sword of Fire and Ice is. I think Sword of Fire and Ice, to be honest, is probably really specifically for True Name Nemesis.
Sure.
So I don't know if he's going to bring it in here because the other 2 equipments are so good.
Batterskull and Umezawa's Jite.
Right. So I don't know if the sword comes in here.
Are you a little surprised that there's not another Scrib Ranger in the sideboard?
I'm not surprised that there's not another Scrib Ranger.
Sure. Yeah. Let's take a look at the bracket while these guys sideboard. What do you think's going on over in Kevin Jones' deck? There you see.
Kevin Jones is going to bring in. Yeah. Kevin Jones is going to bring in Grim Lavamancer.
Yeah.
For sure. You know, it's bad synergy with Treasure Cruise, but the permanent answer to Mother of Runes and Noble Hierarchs and so forth is just really huge.
Hey, I think maybe Randy has a little tidbit for us.
Well, I was just looking at the back match, and Eric Markowitz has resolved not 1 but 2 copies of True Name Nemesis.
Oh,
so
it's big.
It's not looking good for John Gradzina right now.
No, that does not sound good at all.
So the craziest card Kevin Jones says, or finally one of the Delver decks are bringing something unexpected to the table, is Pyrokinesis. So he has a Pyrokinesis in his board, which of course is like a red pitch spell that deals 4 damage.
That is a card a couple of Grey Temples like us can really appreciate.
Exactly. So Pyrokinesis, although the one downside of it is that when the main 1 toughest creature you want to kill is Mother of Runes, you can't really sit around waiting for creatures to accumulate on the board because then the Mother Rune's going to get active. But I still think you basically have to keep it in here, especially because you can Lightning Bolt your guy, they use Mother of Runes, okay, now I'm going to Pyrokinesis. But maybe it's just for elves, I don't know. It's possible. You know, pitch cards are 2-for-1s. He's not going to be able to cast a spell on its own, so he's never going to get the 6 mana. I don't think Sulfuric Vortex comes in this matchup because I think he's going to have to point his burn spells at the creatures too often. It's too easy for him to fall behind to one of the beatdown draws from the Maverick deck. Hiding Needle, you could bring that in a Mother of Runes, which really is a big headache off the table.
You could also bring it in and name Wasteland.
Could name Wasteland, but you have basic.
Yeah, he doesn't care about that. Okay.
You don't care about. You're not going to name Domery. You're not going to name.
You're not going to name Knight of the Reliquary.
Knight of the Reliquary because
Knight never uses its ability.
Well, it does occasionally, but it's less likely in this matchup, and it's not like your opponent's going to shed a tear if he has to attack with his 6/6. All right, you made me attack.
Right, you want to leave the possibility that he decides to do something else with the Knight of the Reliquary.
Right.
Like, I actually want you to use that.
So yeah, I think the main cards here are the Grim Lavamancers and potentially the Pyrokinesis and potentially the Smash the Smithereens just to have the answer to
almost certainly for the equipment. Grim Lavamancer seems to come in every matchup for Kevin Jones. I wonder if it's one of those cards where it's like, I bring it in all the time, I just don't know what I take out.
Yeah, it's just one of those cards that's pretty bad against the part of Legacy that's just not represented in this top 8. The Omnitels, the Sneak and Shows, the Storm decks, all the things that just did not show up for this tournament, which I'm a little surprised on because I thought that the removal of the Spell Pierces and the Stifles and so forth from the Delver decks would create somewhat of a resurgence of the combo deck metagame.
But you know what I mean. Watching the blue-red Delver decks all day yesterday, like they were able to just like especially against those decks, just like go wide with like 1/1 tokens and Monastery Swiftspears, and just attack you for 6, ponder and bolt you,
Right.
attack for 6.
Right, and then the treasure cruise is dead. Then the treasure cruise once and they're dead. So
Yeah.
So the game ends fast enough where the dazes are like.
And the dazes were just amazing. Boy, we watched Days against Manaless Dredge yesterday.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah. I'm gonna guess you can't pay for this because you're manaless. Literally manaless. Yeah, I saw the guy bolt his own true name nemesis. That was
How awesome was that?
That was awesome.
Yeah, I do not think, I have a blank space on my wall waiting for a Gaius Cradle piece of art. I just don't think I could have the stones to play Manaless Dredge.
Every time someone plays that deck, there's like someone in the chat who's like, "This is just how Richard Garfield intended it." Like every time. This is what he envisioned. All right, so here we go.
Yeah. Gitaxian
Kevin
Probe.
Jones casting the commentator's dream, the Gitaxian Probe. So we got Mother of Runes, 2 Grove of the Burn Willows.
It's a 6-card hand here for Nate Strum.
Swords, Batterskull. So he can't do turn 1 Mother Runes because he has to cast the Noble Hierarch to get white mana. So that means Kevin's going to have at least a little time to set up here. Because he doesn't necessarily have to cast a burn spell on his second turn.
Sure.
And Fork Bolt could be nuts here.
Yeah.
But we'll see if he has a Delver or a Swift Spear. Or Grim Lavamancer.
Fork Bolt's so good. I'm surprised that there aren't more in the sideboard for the matchups where it gets to be great.
My first copy I built of this deck had, between deck and sideboard, had 4 Fork Bolts.
Yeah.
And here's the
Lavamancer.
So, but once again, you got to keep in mind that this is not a normal Maverick deck. The addition of Punishing Fire makes Grim Lavamancer not nearly as big of a deal. And the more Kevin has to use Grim Lavamancer, the harder it is to cast Treasure Cruise, and the more likely we're going to get to the mid game where
now we know why he's so grim.
Yeah. Because he's never gone on a cruise.
Yeah, he's just like, this is unacceptable. It's like, I stay home, I watch the cats, I water the plants. You guys go to Bermuda.
I would never hire a Lavamancer to watch the cats, for the record. So now here's a potential play. Will we see a Grim Lavamancer attack and then the Scrib Ranger will flash in and block it?
Oh my god.
I thought you might like that idea.
Only in the greatest of all universes.
Completed registering your pool, I would request that you fold your deck list back up.
So yeah, so it's basically nothing's happening now. The Lavamancer is
back in the box. If you have not yet completed,
brought the Maverick deck to a standstill.
So that it may come around and assist you. Again, if you have not completed registration.
But that Grim Lavamancer is just keeping multiple cards in in Nate's hand locked away. Yeah, there's a Mazaveth.
Wow. So things just got real slow. So now Kevin's going to try to find some real action. Mazavith, not very good against young Pyromancer, so we'll see if a Pyromancer shows up here.
And really, Strum is just like, he just wants a Punishing Fire at this point, right?
Right, for sure. I mean, his windows, if Kevin draws a Pyromancer, the window's going to close real fast because Strum has, that's the one weakness he has. It's like I was saying before, like when he gets to the mid game, he has these sort of like, they're not haymakers in traditional like Magic sense. Like a lot of them are just green creatures, but in this matchup they feel like haymakers. And the mid game young Pyromancer is definitely a thing where if Kevin were to cast a Pyromancer instead of a Swift Spear, fire off a cantrips, it would get out of hand pretty quickly.
So Monastery Swift Spear comes down, attacks, and is Mazaveth.
Right, so
Maze, of course, does not make mana.
And he did not shuffle from the Ponder, right? So he must have seen enough where he didn't feel the need to go digging for a young Pyromancer.
Alright.
So now he's just going to start casting creatures since the Lavamancer's tapped. But Kevin almost certainly has at least one burn spell in his hand since they aren't creatures.
He plays Bird and Noble Hierarch.
Vintage players, this is last call for registration.
We know there's a
If you
sword
have
in
not signed
hand
up and you want to
Nate,
play
right?
today, come to the main event stage right now. We will be closing.
Oh, there's Young Pyromancer. All right.
Oh boy.
So,
Yeah, and interesting to me, Nate does not have a card that just cleans up a board, right?
no, I mean, he could play something really narrow like Electricity, although now that it's being played in Vintage,
Yeah.
it's hard to call it narrow.
I mean, it's
but
in the sideboard here, right? Oh,
No,
it was in his opponent's
yeah.
sideboard.
I mean, the traditional card that white decks would play for that is like Zealous Persecution, but this deck doesn't have black. Like the last time I played Delver against a Maverick deck, it was a Dark Maverick.
That two Path to Exiles or swords.
Oh yeah, his white swords. He had a swords.
It was two
opening.
white. Oh, swords. Okay, it was two white promo swords. But now he has to deal with that Pyromancer before he deals with the Grim Lavamancer.
Well, I don't know if that's true. I think he has to.
Okay, PTQ players, if you have not,
But yeah, he can't kill a bunch of tokens.
if you have not,
Once it gets to like 6 tokens or something, it's going to be really hard to stop the damage.
Deck box, please do so right now. We're about to swap.
A token from the Gitaxian Probe.
Judges, if there's anyone still registering, please go around the room and assist them.
Well, we're definitely seeing the power of Grim
Assistance with
Lavamancer.
registration. If you need assistance with registration, please raise your hand.
Yeah, I guess he doesn't play a sweeper because Punishing Fire is supposed to be that thing.
Right.
But
I feel like I would want something specifically to clean up Young Pyromancer.
Attention vintage
Not
players.
great options in his
Aaron
colors.
Chen to the vintage scorekeeper.
Pyroclasm?
Aaron
I guess that's
Chen
just bad.
to the vintage
Kills your
Bad for
deck.
your deck,
Yeah.
yeah.
At the main stage.
like Electricity is really the option at that point.
That seems fine.
Yeah, it's just narrow.
Yeah.
It's good against elves though.
Yeah. Okay.
And I doubt that Maverick is good against elves. I seriously doubt it. It's got to be a bad matchup. So
Okay, at this point in time, players,
you just can't get
I would, like
Jitty
you
online
to
fast enough most games.
take your
Right.
deck box,
All right.
everything in it, hold it high above your
Yeah,
head.
Young Pyromancer is doing its thing.
Right, but it does look like
Take
either
that
the
deck box and hand it to the person to the left.
bird or the hierarch is going to live
Right.
because unless Kevin has the pyrokinesis,
Now we're going to do that exact same thing.
he doesn't. No one plays gut shot, so
Right.
and he already played a land, I believe. So
All
I
right, now
don't.
here's where it gets complicated.
Maybe he didn't play land.
I don't think he did.
Right, so he could play a land
Behind us.
and cast 2 burn spells or
There's no
Lavamancer,
Lavamancer
or
burn
Fork
spells is
Bolts.
fine, yeah. Oh well, Fork Bolt is the
But he only has 2 Fork
yeah.
Bolts. So I've been somewhat discounting
But
that.
you know what? This deck always seemed like, just in general, they see so
See a lot of
many
Take
cards.
that deck box.
They have so many shuffles,
there's
and there
the
it is.
Fork
Of
Bolt.
course he had it.
Yeah.
At this point in time, players, I would like you to
And he got his
open
token.
that deck box. Put your name.
Monastery Swiftspear is about like a 9-10 right now, but it's just going to be Maze of
And
it.
Electricity would be real good here.
Yeah.
Real good.
Yeah.
There's no question.
In the upper right-hand corner, write down your table number, the table number that you are sitting at right now. So your name as a player using it.
That's right. Is that really the only? That's really the only thing you can play. That's not going to hit your mana creatures.
Well, I mean, so Delver decks traditionally would play Rough Tumble, but that doesn't work now that they play Young Pyromancer. So that tells you the kind of options in red.
That you will have 30 minutes to complete building your deck.
White
Ask that you not
white decks,
get up
most
from your seat
white
until
decks
you hand
to
your deck
fight
to the judge.
True Name
Please
Nemesis
hand
and
your
Young
deck
Pyromancer plays
directly
Zealous
to the
Persecution.
judge.
This deck doesn't have black.
Getting up
Right.
From your seat.
That Kasali Pride
You have 30
Mage
minutes to build your decks.
promo alternate art Kasali Pride
Yeah,
Mage.
that's yep.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
that's
it's
scavenge.
ooze. That's much better.
Is that a normal scavenging ooze?
But it's dead.
Okay.
And now it's dead.
All right, I'm putting all legacy players on mourning. I want white bordered, most common art.
As long as they don't play that promo Dryad Arbor, I won't be too upset. All right, so this game is quickly getting out of control. And really, this was just all Grim Lavamancer.
Yeah.
Like the fact that instead, I mean, Nate just had to play lands and do nothing. I mean, the fact that he didn't have a third mana producing land is part of it, but
if he has, I mean, I guess you can't reasonably expect your Bird and Noble Hierarch to live in this matchup.
Right. But without the Lavamancer, you probably only play one at a time, don't get them fork bolted.
Right.
He also has no natural white mana, but it doesn't matter because anything you would have done, the Lavamancer would have been...
Probe you. Taxing probes after combat, because why not? It doesn't matter. You know your Swift Spear is getting mazed.
I didn't know when I said that the mid-game Pyromancer was going to be good. I honestly did not quite expect this.
Yeah.
This is a lot of tokens.
You meant to say great?
Yeah. This is really a lot of tokens.
Right? And again, these guys have access to their deck lists. They know exactly what they're playing. So he knows. There's nothing that's going to get in his way here, right? He's going to feel pretty good. Like, it's really hard to imagine, even somehow a Batter Skull ending up in play.
Yeah.
I don't even, there we go. All right, Kevin Jones, he's like, I am not prepared to lose yet.
And the only thing Nate has that would be a really crazy answer to Young Pyromancer is Tabernacle of Pendrel Veil. But I already talked about it, and during the interview, he was like, "No, that's not happening." Right.
God, that would have been so sweet there.
Yeah, I mean, he still would have died, right? I mean, because Kevin drew 5 lands in his deck that only plays 17.
Choke Tabernacle combo.
Choke Tabernacle could be sweet. But
sure. Do we know what's going on the back table? Do we have a result there? We know that John Gradzina and Eric Markowitz are both playing Esper.
No, blue, white, red.
Blue, white, red. Oh, okay. Yeah, so they're playing Jeskai.
I call it Jeskai, but it doesn't really have a Jeskai feel to it.
Sure.
So I think we were calling it. Randy was calling it Delver Blade, which is really.
I like Delver Blade. That's what we were calling it yesterday. That's right. So 2 Delver Blade decks. They're battling on the back table. Yeah. What's going on the back table, Randy?
It's actually dueling true name nemesis.
Woo!
Yeah, both players have a true name.
Two true name nemesis.
Markowitz had his first, but Delver has joined forces on the other side, so it's basically a race at this point.
Delver, or is it transformed? Is it an insectal?
Just
I don't know how those guys could have true names for this long and nobody be dead yet, but. So
the true name mirror.
So this is big. I mean, being on the
You're a jerk. No, you're a jerk.
If people don't like that card, it's not a popular card. Every once in a while, there's a card that no one likes. True name seems to be one of those.
Yeah.
So going first is pretty big in this matchup. I mean, imagine that if Nate had gone first that game.
Oh yeah, and gets a turn of Noble Hierarch.
Right, that could have made a difference. Although I mean, depending on the burn that Kevin draws in a particular hand, it may not matter. But
so Eric Markowitz up a game in that matchup.
So
and True Name Nemesis and Delver of Secrets turned into Insectile Aberrations, just fighting.
Right. So the
flinging bad names at each other across.
I would never call Insectile Aberration a bad name. So I think the draw that's really hard for Kevin to beat is sort of like fetch land, mana creature. Kevin does something on his turn besides kill the mana creature, and then like fetch land, 4/4 out of the Reliquary.
Sure.
Then you're like, but you have days.
Right.
But
what if he just goes instead mana up Stoneforge Mystic for sort of Umezawa's skull. Any.
At least then Kevin can kind of untap. If he didn't play a burn spell in turn 1, it's probably because he pondered.
Yeah.
He said he can kill the Stoneforge and.
Alex Mercer to the main event stage.
But being on the draw is a big disadvantage.
All right, we're going to game 3 on that back match. I don't think we're going to hold them. We could be hunkered down here for a while.
Oh, for sure. This game could go long, especially if there's
There's
a lot of.
I just use the words hunkered down in the booth. My wife somewhere, and she hates the word hunker.
Oh, really?
She hates it.
So it's a weird one to hate.
I know.
We all have words that our wives hate. How's it going, Randy?
Headed to game 3. Yeah, Grudzina was the second guy to resolve True Name, but he got his Treasure Cruise to resolve, so he was able to add a Delver and then a Batterskull.
A Batterskull
yeah.
is-
Batterskull races pretty well.
Yeah, once
Yeah.
the True Name has to stop attacking.
Yeah, I think True Name plus Delver might have won the race, but it was going to be close. Batterskull, though, was all over them. So both semis headed to Game 3.
So we know a Delver Blade will be in the finals. We don't know if it'll be joined by the last standing blue-red Delver deck or Nate Strum's Punishing Maverick.
So Nate's draw looks like he definitely has lands and mana creatures. I don't know what action he has. I believe both players kept 7s.
Yeah.
That's good.
How did you feel seeing Shocklands getting searched up in the feature match area?
You know, I was saying to Randy, like in all the Legacy Opens that get run every weekend, I don't really recall seeing a Shockland in the top 8. So I don't know. I'm pretty surprised to see it happen here.
Noble Hierarch for Nate Strum. So, this is like the difference what we talked about in the last match where there was a turn 1 Grim Lavamancer that
Right.
just kept a turn 1 Noble Hierarch stranded in his hand for turns.
Right.
So,
So here's the turn 2 Knight that he could have. So now Kevin basically has to kill the Noble Hierarch. He can't. If a 4/4 Knight, Ghost the Knight would only be. By the way, Kevin does not have Submerge. That's another difference in his deck list between them. So he doesn't have another fetch though, so the Knight would only be a 3/3. Scavenging Ooze is no picnic either.
yeah, Scavenging Ooze seems like a sweet card in a room full of Treasure Cruises.
Yeah, it's nasty.
Wasteland you.
It was already hard to beat.
Yeah, Wasteland you. I can keep doing this. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean,
really
graveyard decks are starting to feel a little bit like artifact decks feel like in Vintage. How like you have to start cutting back on the cards because you don't want like the Null Rad guy to suddenly just destroy you. So you don't play the 5th off-color Mox because you're only 4 colors. Like it's starting to feel the same way. You don't really play the Tarmogoyfs because Rest in Peace and Scavenging Ooze are already so good against you. You don't want to give them another card that's bad against.
Noble Hierarch.
Wow, this
has
seems, so he's
lived.
got to have. I guess he's got to has days, or he's gonna have to bolt the Knight of the Reliquary at the end of the turn.
That's the Caracas.
So he's not gonna cast it. He's just going for the Scavenging Ooze instead. 'Cause he doesn't want to get dazed.
Oh, it's Savannah. Okay. Apologize.
And he had the bolt anyway. So without a second fetch, the Knight of the Reliquary wouldn't have made it anyway.
Right.
But it just shows you how defensively Kevin has to play once.
Right. Yeah. Bolt to Scavenging Ooze, and then, Nate wastelands him.
And then in the last match, Ralph tried to attack.
And by
Nate's-
wastelands him, I just means he removed a card from his graveyard just before anyone thinks, literally wastelanded him.
Right,
I should
the-
say strip mined.
for the purposes of you Lotus pedaled him.
Yeah.
In the last match, Ralph tried to go after Nate's mana creatures with the bolts, but that phase of the game was never even in play for Kevin. Like the first turn Hierarch basically meant, and with the Ooze and the Reliquary in hand, basically meant that Kevin immediately had to deal with threats rather than hope.
Sure.
To,
Sure. And we had someone call yesterday Gataxian Probe the most broken card in
It's
Legacy.
so good. It is so good. It's just a really
Not a preposterous statement. So there's Monastery Swift Spear. There's Ponder.
I mean, it's just a really, really good card.
We're going to get in for 2.
I'm not a big fan of what Gataxian Probe and Mental Misstep and Vintage do to the game. They're really good.
There we go. Get in for 2 with Monastery Swift Spear.
We're going to be getting
Kept those cards on top with Ponder.
So is that a fetch land, or is that a Horizon Canopy?
Posted in about 5 to 10 minutes. I promise.
So punishing fire on the Swift Spear.
Right, so at this point, Nate just says, I'm happy to go to the long game. I just don't want to take any damage.
He's like, I've got mana this game.
I've got mana. I've got large green creatures in my deck. I don't see a point of risking taking extra damage.
Fetches up.
Kevin knew the mountain was on top from the ponder.
So there were 2 cards he wanted there and knew he was going to shuffle the third one away. Or I guess 1 card he wanted there.
Right.
And respecting the 3 wastelands,
Right.
the 3 actual capital W wastelands
I was-
in Nate Strum's deck.
I was about to say what we need here is the Pyromancer. That's the game plan now, and he has it. So this is perfect for him. He gets Pyromancer going, gets the mana creature off the table, gets an extra point damage.
Yeah, young Pyromancer, and then Fork Bolt.
So the goal here is just to get so many 1/1s on the table that you don't care about Knight of the Reliquary.
So he sacrifices the Horizon Canopy to draw a card.
So he must have more mana in his hand. That's the only reason he would do that. He couldn't risk. Or am I wrong? Did he just... Or is he going to plow the... All right, there we go. He doesn't want to fall too far behind.
Yeah, and then another Noble Hierarch.
So he sacked the Horizon Canopy with no more lands? That's...
Guess so.
I know Kevin doesn't have Wasteland, so he can't... You know, he can't lose his Savannah here like he could against so many decks, but...
Okay. Fetch land gets a tapped
It's
island.
possible he didn't have the Swords of Postures, and that's why he's sacked?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, there was a shocking lack of fist pump there, if that was the case.
Yes, that's true. Oh, going on a cruise.
Oh, boy. Oh, my God. That's... Yeah, you've gone through all this work. You've done all this work to sort of, like, get to some point where your deck can start to function, and then your opponent's just like,
The last...
pawing at the top of their deck for 3 cards.
The last tournament I played, kind of traditional Tarmogoyf Mongoose, Delver in.
Yeah.
The last time I played that deck, I finally added Sylvan Library to my deck because I was like, I just need to draw cards some games. I'm just losing the straight card advantage, and now they do this. Like,
You can still run a Sylvan for style points.
it's true. And there are some Sylvans floating around, but yeah, Treasure Cruise is so huge.
We need like one of those, air horns that the boats use when they come in. Just blare it over the stream every time someone casts a Treasure Cruise.
Oh, I thought you wanted the player to do it. Just right in his opponent.
I'd be fine. I may do that for some of our local draft action. Air horn.
I'm gonna when I get all the equipment and so forth ready together for my cube, it'll include sound effects for various cards. That's a great idea, actually. Like, oh, I'm sorry, did you cast Shadow Mage Infiltrator? Have some sort of... we won't say anything bad about you.
Alright, Grim Lavamancer now.
Lavamancer's still good this late in the game.
Yeah, but Knight of the Reliquary comes down as a 4/4?
I believe so.
Yeah.
But that's going to be easy to get rid of with Lavamancer,
Yeah.
Then it's just... The hard part about this part of the game is that this is why Treasure Cruise is key, is because
we're gonna upkeep both.
Kevin's gonna have to kill a lot of Nate's stuff, but the problem is Kevin's not.
Was he Hollywooding a bolt there? Just so he doesn't play the Knight of the Reliquary this turn and waits for like a fetch land.
It's hard to wait. I mean, I guess he can. It's hard to wait.
Do you think there's a bolt in Kevin Jones's hand? Because he clearly represented a bolt. He clearly like
he thought about it.
Showed him a bolt, right?
I don't know.
John Grudzina wins. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. Markowitz has... So you both played Delver on the first turn. and you ponder, you see Wasteland, Wasteland, True Name, but you have no other colored mana but the one Tundra that's in play. Do you shuffle? Do you pile Wasteland, Wasteland, right?
Are you on the play?
You were on the play, you flipped your Delver, your opponent's Delver has not flipped yet. So you go land Delver, he goes land Delver, you both daze, so his Delver sticks. You untap, flip your Delver, and then cast Ponder.
All right, while you're thinking about that, Path to Exile takes out Grim Lavamancer.
That's huge.
Go back to your thinking.
I think I would shuffle.
You would shuffle? He stacked Wasteland, Wasteland, True Name, got his Tundra Wastelanded on turn 2, never saw colored mana for the rest of the game. And Wasteland, Wasteland did not deprive Gridzina of colored mana. Gridzina found number 3 off of Brainstorm, found number 4 actually before the game ended, so there you go. Gridzina wins. Kind of a weird game. The Delvers flew past each other for a while.
It's pretty tough to win, to keep an all Wasteland draw when your opponent has like 10 1-mana cards in his deck that kills a Delver, right?
He does have a Tundra at the time he's making the decision.
True.
Right, he doesn't know that his opponent has a Wasteland, but his opponent does have a
Right, but it's unlikely that your Delver is going all the way against that deck, even if you Wasteland him.
Right. Well,
he has Red Blasts, Plows.
Granted, you're holding a Brainstorm with your Tundra.
Green Sun Zenith, by the way, is resolved for another Noble Hierarch here.
Anyway, that was the spot. It turns out he kept the Wastelands and lost his one Tundra, never found any other colored mana.
I feel like I would have shuffled there as well.
Yeah, it's tough to. It's once again, it's always tempting to destroy all your opponent's lands.
Yeah.
I can't stress that enough. That there's a couple people who like it more than I do, but not that many. So yeah, this is the game where you really need the Pyromancer for Kevin, and Nate just is going to start running out like one at a time stuff that's bad for Kevin.
And Kevin Jones at some point is just going to be paying full retail on Treasure Cruises. He keeps drawing mana like this.
That is tough with his deck. I'm not sure he can do that. He can't. He actually can't.
Oh, okay. So we have Polluted Delta that actually can't make mana. Can't. Is he out?
He only has 7 lands in his deck.
Okay. He's got 5 of them in play.
Hopefully in Vintage Save we're going to get to the point in the game where we start trying to figure out if someone can hard cast Gristlebrand. That happens. Like, does he actually? Is he able to?
All right, Stoneforge Mystic gets Batter Skull. Noble Hierarch gets in for, attempts to get in for 2.
All right, and this is just. Pyrokinesis? Oh!
Oh my god!
Hard cast Pyrokinesis.
He did not hard cast the Treasure Cruise, but he alternate casting costs the Pyrokinesis.
That is the alternate. Yeah, you're right. That is the alternate. That was sweet.
That is the red Force of Will.
And that is
you can pitch a red card to pay it.
Yep, in the same set.
Oh my god!
That's a huge turnaround here. Huge.
And then Monastery Swiftspear get in for 2.
Well, we still have Night of the Reliquary, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we do.
Force of Will.
Force of Will with the alternate casting cost.
Right. I mean, this is something that only happens in Treasure Cruise games, where the Delver deck gets the 6 mana so easily. Kevin's playing really fast. I kind of think it's more because he's more. I don't think it's confidence. I think he's like, let's just try to get this over with.
Yeah, he's like, I just want to jam these guys into the red zone every turn. Bird of Paradise.
He's actually pretty far from winning. I mean, this is not a fast clock. He really needs to draw a Ponder.
Or another Treasure Cruise.
Or, oh, well, yes. I forgot about that. Treasure Cruise would be pretty good.
And by the way, Treasure Cruise was obviously designed by Beetlejuice, because when you say he needs to draw a Treasure Cruise here, they generally do. I think he might have drawn.
That Pyrokinesis was pretty unbelievable.
Oh! Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice!
All right, I see how it works around here. Whatever you want to happen happens. Wow, that was just unbelievable.
So yeah, now that Monastery Swiftspear and that Lonely Pyromancer token are backed up by a pair of Force of Wills.
I mean, that hard cast Pyrokinesis was just unbelievable.
It's like end of your turn, hard cast pyrokinesis, untap, you do something, hard cast force of will.
So now he's gonna have to force a will tonight.
Yep. What did he pitch to the force of will?
He had 2 force wills before, but I don't know if he pitched the second one. So yeah, cantrip here would really be appreciated. Doesn't have it.
Doesn't have it, doesn't need it. Oh. And there we go, Delver Secrets.
Wow, this is looking real bad for the Maverick deck now.
He
Crazy.
did pitch the force to the force.
What is
There's a hard cast batter skull.
smash to smithereens the batter skull for the win?
Wow. Kevin Jones.
Very impressive, Blue-Red Delver. I mean, I guess I'm trying to think what happens if he has a different burn spell instead of pyrokinesis, and what happens is he has to kill the Stoneforge, but then the batter skull still comes down 1 turn later. But I don't know how. He was probably still holding the smash, so yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Blue-Red Delver deck is just that good, and I'm just not adjusted to the Treasure Cruise world.
There's just like a bunch of kids playing on your lawn with Blue-Red Delver, and you're about to turn the hose on them.
Hey, I love the Blue-Red Delver. I love the Treasure Cruise. I love the deck. I just don't. I just haven't played with it enough yet. Maybe I don't appreciate the full power of this thing.
Sorry, Punishing Maverick. You go onto the scrap heap of history, and we have John Grudzina versus Kevin Jones in the finals. And what do you like here?
Well, we have the 7 out of 8 possible Treasure Cruises. That's the first thing there's noticed.
So you like Kevin Jones is what you're saying, because he's got Treasure Cruise advantage?
I like Kevin Jones in this matchup in general, just because he Swords of Plowshares, not a big deal. It's not like it's easy to get a Pyromancer in play, get a couple tokens, then it gets plowed.
Yeah.
Not as big of a deal. It's not like Torment Wife, so the plow's not as big of a deal. He has 6 main deck ways to kill a Noble Hierarch. So it's not as easy. It's not easy to get the active Batter Skull against him. I think that in the old world, this was kind of a close matchup, but the Blue-Red deck is just so much better at getting his Treasure Cruise online.
And the Blue-White-Red deck?
The Blue-White-Red deck is, traditionally it's going to trying to win with True Name Nemesis, and the equipment is what it's supposed to be the trump in this matchup.
One quick note about those pairings.
But I think that the fact that the 2-for-1ing yourself to kill things, to force a will, the True Name,